This is Let's Talk Business with your host, Marc Ebinger. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Business podcast. In studio with us today is Patrick Gnehm, the founder and CEO of TalentSync, which is a talent acquisition firm that specializes in helping nonprofit organizations grow by connecting them with exceptional talent that not only meets job requirements, but also align with the culture and long-term goals of the organizations that are served. I love it when we start with the long-term relationship in mind. Now, before founding TalentSync, Patrick held key leadership roles at organizations like Q2 Holdings, Marathon Petroleum, and Provenir Health, where he demonstrated expertise in process optimization, data-driven decision-making, and team development. Patrick, that's quite the resume. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Marc. Pleasure to be here today.
Yeah, you bet. So Texas, you're in the Texas Business Hall of Fame as well? Give me the quick rundown on what that is.
Yeah, I got the Texas Business Hall of Fame Scholarship Award, Future Legend Scholarship Award back in 2019 for really my first startup that I was working on. And has been part of the Texas Business Hall of Fame ever since. Part of the alumni group now, and it's just a great organization helping business leaders grow and just achieve more here in Texas.
Well, after the podcast, we'll get you to help me fill up my application, and we'll go from there. I think Jenevy might want that as well, right?
I do. We actually got the San Antonio Business Awards for Best Consulting Business in San Antonio for 9 years in a row. So we're also in the Hall of Fame for that one.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
Yes,
Why am I just hearing about this Hall of Fame stuff? Jason, are you in the Hall of Fame as well?
I am not, but
we need to fix
I have
that.
a new life goal.
Yes.
So it's right up there with
We're
getting a
gonna add it to
Wikipedia
the
page.
list.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So if anybody's looking to get me something for Christmas, right?
Wikipedia?
Yeah. A Wikipedia page would be awesome.
I'm going to get my team on that ASAP. I need one as well. All right, cool. So also joining us as a guest host today is JDStraughan, the founder of JDStraughan Consulting, a firm that focuses on helping companies optimize their operations through innovative solutions and strategic guidance. Jason is a well-regarded figure in the tech scene, having mentored startup founders, and been actively involved with TechBlock and Geekdom. Jason also serves as a Vistage chair where he coaches CEOs and business leaders to help them achieve better results, both personally and professionally. So we're developing the whole person. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Marc. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you as a guest co-host. I'm not really done a whole lot of the guest co-host stuff yet.
Not yet.
Is he the first?
Yes,
We've had?
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you are actively involved in the local business community. Of course, you got an impressive resume, but you're also I've had conversation with you before. You're very thoughtful, you're very kind, and you're very helpful. So I can see why you're involved where you're involved. So I'm excited to have you here and get your insight as we grill Patrick Gnehm over here.
Very kind. Thank you very much.
Sweating, Marc.
I appreciate that.
That's a good time. All right, I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Kruka's Virtual Staffing, a company that recruits and staffs experienced overseas administrative assistants for businesses who need help with administrative tasks such as appointment management, data entry, and client communication. It's one of those things that is very rewarding to me to match a really good, skilled VA with a small business owner who needs it. Super rewarding. Feels great. We get clients that have their VAs for a very long time as they build those relationships out. It's one of my favorite things that I've done since leaving the police department.
Yes, and you're excellent at it. He helped me with my VA that I love. My name is Jenevy Sims, and I'm also a co-host here. I have my company, the Evolve Firm, where we help business owners create marketing strategies to help evolve their business. Now, before we get started, we want to give a quick reminder to follow the Let's Talk Business podcast on all the major podcast platforms and social media where you can catch video versions of the show. You can get to everything easily from our website at satalkradio.com. Now, we've got our Let's Talk Business Mega Mixer coming up, and we are so excited. So we want to invite you to join us on Thursday, October 3rd at 5:30. Tickets are on sale now for just $20, but don't wait until the last minute because they will be $25 at the door. It'll be a great time of networking, food, plenty of drinks, sponsor tables where you can chat it up with local business owners and take advantage of some great deals. Now, your attendance does matter because the net proceeds from the event will be going to support Gotcha Covered, a local nonprofit that organizes San Antonio's largest one-day collection of clothing, food, and essential items to support other local charities such as Haven for Hope, the Battered Women's Shelter, and the San Antonio Food Bank. We are expecting to sell out again, so get your tickets to the Let's Talk Business Mega Mixer now by visiting our website at satalkradio.com and grab that extra one for a friend.
Yeah, we're going to have a couple of red carpet experiences with a lot of photography and videography. We're going to be doing those virtual or video business cards too.
Yes, on the red carpet.
Yep, that was a big hit last time. A lot of great content come out of it. So if I'm going to spend my time in a mixer, I want to have some fun. If I can drink margaritas while I'm there, especially if they come with a ticket price.
The margaritas.
Yeah, the margaritas, right? I told Jennifer we need to get a sign made up for that.
Yes, we need that sticker.
Margarita.
So, yeah. I think Howie.
Branding it.
Yeah,
Are we going to dance the Macarena too?
No, that's a good one.
Yeah, look, line, you crossed it. I don't know. That's a little too much. So it's going to be a good time, but, we're going to capture a lot of those moments on video and photography. So excited about that. And, of course, lots of networking. I think a big part of what made that successful in the past is the sponsor tables as well.
Absolutely.
Because, it fosters this connection networking thing that people are doing out there. Really good vibe. So excited about it. Anyway, we're going to level up. We got a little something we're going to add to this time. And then for the next one that we'll do next year, I'm really going to level up, and I'm going to need to talk to you because, like, Jenevy is like the master when it comes to event planning at a higher classy level. Ours is pretty good, but I know that.
I don't know about that. But we are going to elevate it for sure.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so a quick shout out to Tone Gonzalez at Tone Homes Air Conditioning and Remodeling for being a gold sponsor for the upcoming Let's Talk Business Mega Mixer here in San Antonio on October 3rd. Tone Homes offers a range of services, including air conditioning installation, repair and maintenance. By the way, I'm on their maintenance plan, and within the first month, I used it because something freaky happened with my my thermostat, and he came out and fixed it all up and did the thing. But, it was covered by the maintenance plan, and he didn't even install that part of it.
Wow.
So anyway, really good service, highly recommended. Tone Homes offers remodeling services for the interior of the home, including bathrooms, kitchens, floor, drywall, and more. So if you need anything done on the inside, got you covered. Also, they handle exterior projects such as siding, painting, replacement windows, doors, and more. So when it comes to customer satisfaction, Tone Gonzalez puts his customers first, and I have no hesitation recommending his service. So if you're looking to transform your home or keep your air conditioning running smoothly in this amazingly hot Texas heat, reach out to Tone Gonzalez and his team at Tone Homes Air Conditioning and Remodeling by visiting their website at tonehomes.com or call them at 210-464-5831. All right, so Patrick Gnehm, I almost wanted to pronounce your name Gnehm, but Gnehm, where's that? What's the nationality or what's the history there?
That's actually it's Swiss German.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of people mix it up. They used to call me the Gnome, So,
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's Swiss German. So.
All right, so tell me a little bit about your background, how you what got you to where you're at now with TalentSync.
Thanks, Mark. Mm-hmm. Well, generally, my background, I'm in recruiting. I've been in recruiting the last 10 years or so. I started my career here in San Antonio and basically evolved from, a sourcer to a recruiter to senior recruiter to managing a consultant team, and then ultimately going kind of the corporate recruiting route where I helped Marathon Petroleum, Robert Half, and other companies basically bring talent inbound. My most recent, before starting TalentSync, I was at Q2 Holdings, which you kind of mentioned at the start of the podcast. That is basically an IT fintech company out of Austin, and helped them build up a team called Helix. That's their banking as a service platform. And so scaled their team from, I think, about 65 people to 120 people over the course of about a year and a half. So big stuff like that is kind of where my background comes. Back last June, I separated from Q2, part of a layoff. And so that was kind of my impetus to start TalentSync. TalentSync I started, and this coming September 12th will be our 1-year anniversary of TalentSync. So we've been in business almost a year here, less than a month till we hit that anniversary. And basically I started TalentSync with the idea that I wanted to basically help nonprofits here in San Antonio find the talent they need to strategically grow. I felt like this was my time to basically start something new and not just work on a corporate side where I'm helping a large entity, but really help these smaller organizations oftentimes find the talent they need and bring my talent of finding people to our local community here in San Antonio. So the focus is really local here in San Antonio. That's our niche, and then nonprofits too. So it's been really exciting thus far, and had some good success getting things going, and it's just been great thus far.
How does the revenue model work for your business? How are you getting paid?
Great question. So the way we work typically is a contingent fee model. We do also do some retained search as well, but typically it's a placement fee with our clients.
Okay, and nonprofits, typically they're scrapping left, right, and center for funds. They can afford those services?
It's something that I work one-on-one with kind of the executive leaders of each organization to see what works with their budget. My goal with TalentSync is not to break their budget and really put them in a bind, but really offer a ton of value and service to them where they need somebody in place quickly. We can help deliver that talent in a short amount of time, if that makes sense. And so I'll work with them, and oftentimes I'll volunteer my hours on a search for a particular individual or a particular position to help lower that cost overall to them.
So are you following a model that's profitable? Is there another business out there doing this for nonprofits that's making a good revenue? Because you're not a nonprofit, right? You're for-profit.
I'm a for-profit entity.
Okay. So are you following a model that is profitable?
So it is profitable. I will say that basically we're competing against other companies that don't really have the same focus on the nonprofit space, right? So we're going up against the Robert Halfs, the Kelly Services of the world, who just view these nonprofits as another client to them. And so we can offer a different service that really targets, the focus and the mission that each one of these nonprofits has, and help deliver the talent that they're really seeking, right? That's somebody that, is mission driven, right? And so that's how we kind of differentiate ourselves overall, is really finding those people that are more mission driven and deliver that talent to their organization, if that helps.
So Jenevy, I know you work a lot with nonprofits as well, but I think my concern here is that if a business is servicing small nonprofits, that the funds are going to be
Limited.
Difficult. Yeah. What are your thoughts there?
Well, that's usually when I first started in the nonprofit world, that was the mentality. But what you have to understand is a lot of the nonprofits, they get those fundings, they get those grants specifically for those things. So they do have that monetary availability. But my question, Patrick, would be, you're saying mission driven. You mentioned that word and that really popped out to me. So I want to know what made you mission driven, because that will also tie into your question too, Mark, is when you are mission driven, you find ways to make it happen.
Yeah.
So for these nonprofits, they know they need people to be able to make an impact. And that comes with you first. We're having those services to be able to bring that talent in.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, mission-driven is really connecting up the right people that have that right drive to be within the organization that they serve, right? And so it's finding those people who resonate with the same core values that the organizations I'm helping, serve, right? And so, ultimately, for me, I found that and this kind of goes back to how I founded TalentSync. It's like, well, I've got this skill set that can help find talent, right? And I really get a lot of joy out of making that connection, talking to candidates, understanding who they are as people, understanding kind of what drives them, understanding, oh, this person is driven by helping others. Oh, this person's more driven by financial gain, and placing the right people in an organization that they can really make an impact, right? And making that match. And so for me, I kind of naturally kind of found my niche driving towards helping these nonprofits based off of that, right? And so it was kind of an interesting, it took me a little time to figure that out. It took at least 3 months or so, I think, after founding TalentSync to kind of find that niche and kind of go there. But ultimately, I think it's, having discovered that, it has definitely been eye-opening and such a great way to help serve our community locally here.
Absolutely. When you find that need and then you have the resources and the talent to back it up, I mean, why not, right? Now, how are you discovering the talent, and how is that? Are there any challenges right now in discovering or finding the right people for these nonprofits?
Yeah, great question. So discovering talent is, one thing that's always a challenge, but it's particularly challenging here in San Antonio right now. As you may know, San Antonio is the second fastest growing city in the United States right now. So the competition to find talent is just great right now. There's competing companies all across the city, but also across Texas. There's a lot of draw from Austin to take tech talent, for example. So a lot of times trying to find tech talent here sometimes can be challenging. And so bringing them here to San Antonio for a nonprofit can be a challenge for sure. But in terms of sourcing talent and finding talent, the one advantage that we and my team have is that we've been here in San Antonio hiring for the last 10 years myself. I've got a team of 2 other individuals that I partner with. They both have 15 and 18 years experience. And so total, we are, a team of kind of senior level headhunters, recruiters that can basically tap into our network and kind of leverage that to help deliver talent for our clients locally.
Wow. Are you guys recruiting also freelancers too?
So basically the way I'm set up is I don't have, anybody on salary on my TalentSync team. Basically we work out kind of a model where, once we place somebody, we collect our fee and then we kind of split it as a team essentially. So it's kind of, we're all rallied around the goal of helping our clients hire an individual. And so once somebody's placed, we kind of divvy it up after that.
Gotcha. Well, I'm kind of curious to know also what type of ways are you networking to find talent also? Because, Mark and I are big into networking, and I would imagine that's how you meet people and, get that first impression before you go to the next step.
Yeah. There's so many great networking events. I mean, Mark, you've helped cultivate so many here in San Antonio. Geekdom is also just another great place too as well. That Jason is well affiliated with, and just kind of getting out there. There's so many events. If you just, look up the San Antonio events calendar, there's just tons in the city. And a lot of times you're going to find people there that just want an opportunity to kind of start something, right? You'll find people that are emerging as software engineers that are looking for that next step to try and get in with an organization. And they just need the help and maybe a resume review, maybe a little coaching on how to interview. And so I think it's really fun kind of doing stuff like that where you can network with people. You never know who you're going to meet, and you can really uncover some great talent sometimes that way.
That's true. They always say you're one relationship away from your goal, right? Mm-hmm. So networking is very valuable. Where else are you sourcing your talent at?
Well, we use some technology on the back end to help, source technology when things like that are exhausted, I would say. So there's a couple things kind of in our secret sauce, I'll just say, that kind of does a lot of back end kind of sourcing for us on the back end. It's, kind of an AI driven tool that we use. And it's worked out well to help find talent for sure. And we use also a lot of, old school Boolean searches with as well and things like that to kind of track down talent. But again, our focus is locally here in San Antonio. So we've got, connections already in the city. And so leveraging that local network is a key thing as well.
Do I want to challenge that so bad? Jason?
Yeah, I was waiting for Mark to weigh in on that one.
Yeah, I've got a couple actually, but I'm really curious, and thank you for everything that you've shared so far. I kind of wrote this sentence down. It's almost like you're missionaries in a mercenaries world, right? When I think about headhunters and when I think about talent search, this alignment around mission and that you find joy out of getting the right people in the right org that they serve, that seems a little more niche and unique than maybe you're making it out to be. So I'd like to hear, how is that different industry-wide, not just serving a nonprofit, but by thinking more about in a missionary mindset instead of just going after the money?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Jason. So overall, I think overall, it's going to be kind of, different than our competitors, right? So, we go up against the Robert Halfs of the world, the Kelly Services of the world, who view clients as just their next paycheck, right? And so, I think what we're trying to do is develop long-term lasting relationships with our clients, understand what they're all about, understand their mission, their goals, their focus, try to really build that relationship up. And rather than being transactional, we want to have a long-term relationship with these customers and clients. And rather than just, okay, I got one person for you, that's it. We want to build up, hey, we want to be your external hiring team for the next year, 2 years, whatever it might be, as you continue to grow, and really kind of help guide them as almost like a outside consulting team in a manner to help build that team up that goes with their mission and their overall goals. So that's kind of where we're trying to build this. Again, we're still kind of young here with less than a year under our belt, but that's how we're trying to differentiate ourselves. We're not trying to be these other organizations that just see our clients as just another paycheck. We really want to help them build towards their mission, and that is bringing in the right people to build the organization.
And that's really profound. Not only that you've made that kind of a difference and a change in an industry that's been around for a really, really long time, right? Mm-hmm. But that you were able to find it so quickly. Like when I think about working with startups and even popular household name companies, they had to pivot multiple times over multiple years until they could find that sweet spot. And you're like, it took me 3 months to find this niche. And that's pretty remarkable how quick it was. Tell me about how that happened so quickly.
Yeah, well, I tried to surround myself with good mentors. And so that really was the key to helping hone down where I was needing to go at the start. So, for example, Jay Lucas was a great mentor to me. I took a call right outside of Geekdom, actually, with him. And he was like, Patrick, go narrow and deep. And those words sunk in really well with me because before that, I was given advice to be a generalist and to go after everything and everything. And, that kind of guided me towards, okay, I got to be very focused and specific in where I'm looking. And so that kind of guided me towards nonprofits. Catherine Keaton, who is another mentor of mine, who was my executive MBA mentor and and just an amazing person in my life. She helped me with the Texas Business Hall of Fame as well. I had a call with her. She is, I think, the chief of staff at UT Health Systems now. And she suggested, hey, Patrick, with your attitude, have you ever thought about nonprofits? And that was kind of at that 3-month mark. And really after that kind of was the light bulb that helped kind of guide that even further. And just, once I kind of got that advice from those mentors, it helped guide me a lot with kind of where I wanted to go. And I'm just so thankful to have people like that in my life. Brian Garrison is another person who gave me, helped open the doors with the Texas Business Hall of Fame. He encouraged me so much with getting TalentSync started, and it's just been an amazing journey with these great mentors in my life.
Awesome. I think my last question going down this vein, I'm super curious. These are pretty profound moves, many significant moves and pivots that you made in a short amount of time. You're attributing those to the mentorship that you've gotten. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that I see when companies are starting is what I call mentor whiplash, right? Mm-hmm. You meet with 3 different mentors and you come out with these 3 different ideas. And then next week you have this whole different thing. Yeah. How were you able to distill the advice or wisdom from mentors that applied to you while ignoring so much that didn't? Because I'm assuming there was a bunch of advice given to you that didn't end up where we are today. So how did you filter between what applied and what didn't?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jason. I mean, to your point, I had mentors, one saying, hey, be very narrow and focused in your approach, and others saying, be a generalist, right? And so that dichotomy was vast, right? And so, it was really hard. I just had to kind of, evolve and see what was working, right? And kind of follow that path that was working. And it's like, oh, we're having some success going down this route. Okay, well, let's pursue that some more, right? Do we really want to be a generalist, or should we just keep down this path that we're kind of pursuing? And so I kind of let the clients and kind of the conversations kind of dictate where to go. And ultimately, that's kind of led us to where we are today.
Super smart. That's all I have to say about that. That's super smart. This iterative testing, right? As you went through the different things, iterate them, test them, try to get rapid feedback in that feedback loop, and then apply those changes. Super smart. Thank you.
Yeah, you
Thanks,
want to.
Jason.
You're going to fail fast, right, and fail cheap, right? That's the thing if you want to stay alive. Anyway.
Well, we're definitely doing it on the cheap. We're bootstrapped. We don't have any venture capitalists funding us at the moment. And, I think there's some pride in that for sure. It's been really, really fun with me and my small team, and we think we're making a difference. And so I think that's been a really great time.
How do you figure out if, when a nonprofit comes to you and they need a specific role filled, are they prepared to handle that role? You know what I mean? How do you run them through a questionnaire? Do you interview them just to make sure that they are doing the right thing by their business in the first place?
Yeah, great question. It really depends on the size of the organization that we're targeting and working with. Some of these nonprofits are very large. One of ours that we're working with is well over $100 million company. And they are very advanced. They already have recruiting processes in place. They already have applicant tracking systems, this, that, and whatever. There's other smaller nonprofits that we work with as well that have none of those processes in place, right? And so working with this range of nonprofits, to me, is really exciting because it can be, trying to understand where, somebody is right now and where they need to be and help guide them as they are developing their kind of recruitment process overall. But also, if they've got systems in place, working with that internal team to help deliver talent. And so in that circumstance, we're more of a support to help deliver exceptional talent to their existing recruiting team, if you will. And so overall, it depends. I hate to say, Mark.
Well, have you run into a situation where somebody was not properly structured to handle the talent they were looking to acquire?
I haven't run into that exact situation the last year. But I will say, I've made recommendations to some of these organizations about their recruiting process. And, sometimes they'll take advice and sometimes maybe not. It's their company, they're running it their way. But, I've got 10 years experience in the space, and I can definitely make recommendations on, hey, this application that you have here, I would maybe change this question here. I'd also take off the question here where you're asking the candidates to upload a picture of themselves. Things like that, where you can make recommendations where they can be legally liable for things that they might not even be aware of. And so, we kind of go in as a coach and help them out. We really want to be a partner with our clients.
Now, when they hire, do they hire you, or do they say, hey, we need CEO or CMO for this, and then you're competing against other talent acquisition firms to fill the same role?
It depends as well. Sometimes we have exclusive contracts with clients, and other times we're competing against other firms or internal teams, and basically let the best candidate win type thing. So I like both challenges. I think ultimately at the end of the day, competition breeds the best results. And so I don't shy away from those times where, we got to compete with internal teams and other external teams. It is something, it does make it more challenging because, you've got a lot of other noise that you have to kind of go over to be visible. And so it does make it more challenging, but, it's part of the game.
Now, one of the talents that you particularly excel in is finding IT, right, in that department? Mm-hmm. And then how are you really utilizing the sources that you have to find that talent to fill those roles, especially here in San Antonio? I know we talked a little bit about that earlier, but could you emphasize a little bit more? Because when it comes to IT, and especially executive level,
yeah,
the pool's a little bit smaller on that one.
For sure. Yeah. So that, particularly finding like IT leadership, executive level roles, that's something where, I think having our network is a huge advantage to our team, right? So we've been in this space hiring for a long time. We know people on a first name basis that may be a good fit for what our client's looking for. And we can talk to our client about, oh, hey, I know Jason or Bob or someone, and you can attest to their kind of personal, mission focus, if that's the case. And so overall, like I said, looking for people within our network a lot of times, and that's our huge advantage compared to the national brands that may not have that knowledge, right? They, may be looking for a role that they just do a quick scan of LinkedIn and find the top people with the top titles that they're looking for and just send them a message. Whereas we can just pick up a phone and make a couple calls and, hey, who do you know? Who do you know? And it just kind of leads to the right person often. So.
Oh, wow. Well, do you find it difficult when you are pitching your services to these nonprofits, knowing that they have to have a budget for it? Do they kind of challenge you on the cost of your services?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that is, in this industry overall, that is always a challenge, for sure. And so, it's one of those things that you got to go up to bat and you're going to take some swings and you're going to, strike out a couple times. And one time you're going to maybe hit a couple home runs, So it's just getting up there and taking a swing, I would say. I would say overall, we'll pitch several times to different organizations. And, our success rate, it's fairly low, 20, 30%, something like that. But, it's a volume number, a volume game. It's just meeting those right people, suggesting our services, offering a value proposition that really shows that, hey, by helping fill this role sooner, you're actually ultimately going to be saving money. And so, trying to make the case in that regard. And then again, like I kind of mentioned, we'll do things like we'll volunteer hours on searches as well to help reduce costs overall for our clients. So there's a lot of things we can do kind of on the back end to kind of make sure that it's a great deal for our clients that we work with.
Yeah, that's really impressive and interesting the way that you go and approach that. And I'm curious, kind of tagging on to that question, as you're helping these customers, it seems like urgency is the number one reason they're coming to you, right? I need this position filled yesterday. Help me get it quickly. But there has to be other, pieces of value that you bring to them. And when I think about in the times in my history when I engaged a recruiter, oftentimes there were reasons outside of urgency. And when I think about IT, and when you combine that with kind of the difficulty in acquiring talent right now that you've talked about and bringing it here, it immediately makes me think about diversity and question, how are you helping your customers achieve a larger pool of applicants or a more diverse pool of applicants? That was something we were challenged with in tech, especially when it came in our specific industry. It was gender diversity, right? You go to the mall and walk around and there's no gender difference between the people that are using the iPhone. But when you go to the dev team that's working on it, it's not uncommon for it to be 85, 90% male. And so it was a big thing in our industry to try to recruit a more gender diverse application development team so that we had a greater representation on that team. And I'm just curious how that is something that you can help your clients with.
Yeah, that's a great question. So overall, I think diversity in hiring is a big question that pretty much every organization faces, particularly in IT. And to solve that, there's a few different ways to go about it. It's, looking for the right people in markets that maybe somebody hasn't looked before. So is there maybe a pool of candidates that we haven't considered in San Antonio, maybe that doesn't have the same level of skills that we're looking for? If we're looking for a senior .NET developer, can we find a mid-level developer that we could bring in and train and coach and bring up? Would that be something to consider? Could we also, pull candidates from, different schools or different areas, if they're more a junior level? And so kind of finding these pockets of candidates and uncovering them in diverse manners is kind of that trick, right? And being able to do that. There are some technologies as well, because again, this is a problem that pretty much every company and recruiting company faces. There are some technologies as well that help kind of generate a more diverse candidate pool as well that you can tap into using kind of some technologies to source candidates as well. But really at the end of the day, I think, it's a challenge that's difficult to answer. There's no silver bullet, right? And so if I had the answer on that silver bullet, that's a great question.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate your answer. And kind of tacking on to that, one of the things that I see as I'm coaching, business leaders throughout different industries is this generational gap that we're having, especially between kind of the business owners that are retiring out and selling their businesses or getting out of the industry, and then of course a new generation that's coming in there. A lot of the coaching that I end up having to do is trying to help lower the distance and bridge the gap sometimes between these generational issues. And I'm curious also, when the diversity kind of plays in, you talked about doing some talent acquisition coaching. And how is that playing in as we're seeing kind of this migration of leadership and middle management and the baton being passed between these generations?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jason. So I think overall, where TalentSync can come in that regard is we can help bring talent in that is open to kind of working with kind of these senior groups and individuals that are on staff right now that may be, to your point, kind of retiring out, and helping kind of coach them to kind of pass the baton, if you will, whether that's getting them upskilled with, different, technical skills, for example, whether that's, for example, if we're talking about like, a senior dev team who they need C#.NET experience, while helping get people up the field, basically exposing them to where there's some local training available on certain technologies, right? And helping get them, hey, this candidate's in the mix right now. They're for this junior role. They're taking on C# classes right now. We'd love to get them on board and help them kind of pass the baton with your organization. So we try and make those, that's more of a candidate conversation that we have with each one of those candidates that we speak with. But we try and, when the cases may be that we need to help them in that regard, we try and offer support where we can to kind of connect the dots, if you will.
Thanks, Patrick. I really appreciate that. It sounds like you're doing more than just helping companies hire the talent, right? That you guys are also there to help them retain it and make sure that it's a good fit for everybody.
Oh yeah, and that's a whole nother part is the retention part for sure. That's another challenge that a lot of companies are facing right now, where you get somebody in and they may last 6 months, 8 months, a year. That's one thing that's most companies don't realize, that it's so expensive to replace talent. And so that's why we think and we believe that finding that right talent first, making that first connection and making that first hire is so critical, because it is, again, so expensive and costly to do it over 6 months, 8 months down the road, that we really make an emphasis on getting that right match the first time.
Oh, and it's so time consuming as well. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm in the virtual staffing space, but and I understand that as well. People don't want to have to hire and then hire again because they just spent however long they spent training them. But let's talk about retention for just a little bit when it comes to profitability for your company. So do you, obviously we want our client to be happy, but let's talk about the profitability side of it. Is there are you guys getting paid the longer this person is with that company, or is it a one-time fee? What's your incentive beyond customer satisfaction and maybe hiring the next person? But is there ongoing revenue with respect to your placements?
So there's not ongoing revenue with respect to our placements. Typically, the way we do a placement fee, which is kind of standard for our industry. What we want to do is really basically be that long-term partner with our clients as we're continuing to help them grow and grow our business as well. And so it's in our best interest that our placements stay there and have a long retention at the organization, because honestly, it's our reputation at the end of the day, our placements. If somebody that we place is only there for a year or something like that, that's not great for what we're trying to do. We vet people thoroughly as we're interviewing them. Our team, goes down and asks questions. Hey, if you were to take this role, how long are you going to stay there at this organization? And really try and dig down. Oh, well, I'm only, only going to be there 6 months. Well, that's probably not going to be a good fit. And so, so we really, again, try and vet people to make sure that they are committed to the organizations that we place them at, that they're interested and mission driven, and again, aligned to that client's needs.
So the organizations you're placing with take care of the HR. They take care. There is no additional service you guys are providing.
Not at this time. We don't do kind of the back end HR stuff at all. We're just mostly focused on, connecting talent with our clients.
So, Jason, this is an area that when I was picking what business I was going to start, I wanted two things. I wanted a paycheck, right, when it's done, and then I wanted recurring revenue. So with respect to something like TalentSync, what are your thoughts there? And should he be pursuing some kind of recurring revenue, or is it too far afield? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh man, that's wild. I think that you're over here with your camera, like reading my notepad or something.
Might be.
Because great. No, I that's something that I'm also curious about, and I begin to immediately think outside of our market in San Antonio, which is who you're serving. There has to be a tremendous amount of people out there who are trying to hire good talent for nonprofits, and you're not in their market, so you can't serve them, and you're not competing with them, but you have this amazing knowledge that could benefit them and add value to them. And immediately I begin to think about like a virtual online mastermind group. Are you doing talent acquisition for nonprofits and you're not in San Antonio? Yeah. Or even if you are, join our monthly group, and we meet together for 6 months and we train people. That's monthly revenue. I think putting together a group of talent acquisition folks that are professionals across the United States that serve nonprofits and being able to create those masterminds, coaching, helping, that seems like something. But even bigger, I think what you're getting to is offering that talent coaching to the C-suite of these nonprofits, right? You're hiring my talent for a small monthly fee. I can meet with you, or some of my staff can come and meet with you every month and help you become better at hiring and retaining top talent inside your organization. Also training you on things like why you don't want somebody uploading their image with their application when they're applying for a job, right? And in that training and coaching is beneficial for them. So there's just a couple off the top of my head, I think, but I would absolutely be thinking about how do I create recurring revenue? Transactional revenue is fun, but yeah, it goes away too fast.
If it falls within that wheelhouse anyway, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're providing additional services to the client, right? You're going deeper. And that's to your point you said earlier. You're going deep on that. Well, deep also involves more revenue, not just I'm just going to do the one thing. And another thing I would challenge you on as well is I don't know why you just have to service San Antonio, because this can be done anywhere. Yeah. Why limit yourself to San Antonio? I get it. This is a great place to start, but that would be like me saying I'm only going to hire virtual assistants for people here in San Antonio. It's like this can be done anywhere.
Yeah.
So you can specialize, right, and fine tune what's going on here, but why not offer it all over the country? Especially, because the revenue model is extremely deep there, I would think, and there's nonprofits all over the place that need your help.
That's a great point, Mark. And honestly, we're just less than a year in still. There's a huge runway, I think, for us to grow in many different ways, reoccurring revenue outside of San Antonio. To me, this seems like just such a huge opportunity. And so I think we just got to keep growing, man, and just keep doing our thing.
Yeah. So I really want to get into the networking side of it. And I think you brought it up earlier, Jenevy, about where should obviously, I think every business needs to have that front-facing person that's doing the networking, doing the community outreach. You're doing that extremely well for your company, not just networking, but also in the nonprofit space. That's community involvement. Those are extremely powerful pieces. What do you think, as you're still a young entrepreneur with this particular business, what should he be looking at as far as, or any young business owner be looking at, that outward-facing activity that needs to happen? And then I would also like to know if Patrick's more a behind-the-scenes guy or the front-facing kind of a guy, too. So I'll let you kind of build on that.
Absolutely. Well, the number one thing with networking is consistency. Showing up. Making sure that you are connecting with the right group. Because, like you said, there's so many networking groups out there, but which ones will you find the best talent? what's going to benefit your company and what you're looking for, and then showing up to them consistently so that they know your name or they know when you're not there. That's the big thing. I used to be the first one at these networking events and the last one. I would talk to as many people as I could, and those connections 14 years later are still valuable to this day. And if I didn't show up to the big ones, I'd get a text, "Where are you?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, I sent my rep out there." And they're like, "That's not the same." But consistency is key. And then also growth, right? Being in an environment that will allow you to grow. So placing yourself strategically and being in those circles where people are constantly talking about growth and personal development, those are key ingredients, especially when it comes to networking, I think. And with what you do, just to go along with what Jason said as far as recurring revenue, not only are you going to be providing support for these professionals, but also for the talent that you're bringing in. What kind of support group can you give them to better equip themselves to be good candidates for these nonprofits? Do they have that heart, or is it just on paper that they're saying that they do? But if you provide a service where you teach them and educate them, you're going to find this great talent here in San Antonio, and you started at a great place. And you'll see those at networking events, especially the networking events that are tied to nonprofits. Then you're going to see like-minded people who are taking time out of their day to support a local nonprofit.
Yeah, so
That's
Patrick, how are you approaching the marketing side here in the community?
Yeah, so to answer your question, I am kind of the front-facing person, so I'm out there in the community. I'm out, meeting people in the nonprofit space. I just joined the Nonprofit Council last May, and so trying to get acquainted with that community a bit more. But that's kind of a group of kind of executives in the nonprofit space here in San Antonio. So that's a perfect group for me to connect with. And so that's been really great. And then beyond that, I absolutely am working to kind of get more, in front of nonprofit professionals that could turn into great candidates with our clients as well, and kind of be consistent like that. But again, kind of that nonprofit council is probably the most recent nonprofit focused group that I've joined that I think is just a huge asset. They also have a great newsletter and a great thing about employment opportunities. And so I can go kind of, understand kind of what potential clients their needs are from that as well.
I think if I was going to hire you, or I was looking for a talent company, one of my questions that I would ask, and you didn't bring it up in your answer here, would be, how are you connecting with the local talent? You're talking about connecting with potential clients, but what about the talent itself?
So that's a great question. So in overall with connecting with talent, I kind of mentioned it a little earlier about, we connect locally through networking events. We connect, we source candidates as well, using some different technologies. And then typically, I'm calling people. And so it's going back to that, we got 14,000 LinkedIn connections, right? And so we can go ahead and ping somebody that's our first connection that maybe somebody I worked with before in the past, or maybe a former client in the past, or maybe a former candidate that I worked with in the past. And so I think that's where we really can add value, is having that established network in the community already, and then kind of tapping into it, depending on kind of what our needs are for our customers.
What about local universities? I mean, because I would think that, especially in the tech field, that if you're spending time not only here in San Antonio but also in Austin, being involved with university activities, sponsoring stuff, doing whatever to keep yourself in front of these folks to say, hey, look, if you're looking for a tech job and you have a heart for nonprofits, we're definitely the place you want to connect with. So what about those kind of outreaches?
Yeah, so I'm part of the UTSA Executive MBA alumni group, and so connected with them, and they also have a nonprofit group at UTSA as well, and so connected with them as well. I think for a lot of our clients, they're typically looking for more senior type talent. So typically that's maybe not my first go-to is connecting with kind of university grads, but there are people that have graduated that have a couple years under their belt that are part of these university networks, and that's a great inroad to help our clients. Right, it's connecting through the university for sure.
Right, because you're not hiring techs, you're hiring the C-suite folks.
Yeah, kind of more generally, more mid-level, senior, director level positions, kind of what we go after typically.
Gotcha. You mentioned LinkedIn, but where's another good place to find mid-level talent?
There's like LinkedIn is a hot spot really for a lot of talent, right? But again, there's other avenues too, Geekdom and others, kind of local communities here, and kind of touching base with those communities is important to kind of understand, where people are and kind of get them connected.
Yeah, Jason, I'm thinking mentors, because this is your world, like people that are doing mentorship for, I don't know if it's tech or whatever. What are your thoughts on where else maybe Patrick could target to find these folks that are in mid-level management on the IT side?
Well, I think y'all tapped on a lot of it. It's, going where they are, finding the watering holes where these folks are. And we have a really great meetup and networking community here in San Antonio if you're willing to kind of go turn over the rocks and look under them, right? We've got programmer meetups. You've got cybersecurity meetups. You've got, all of these different networking. San Antonio New Tech just came back where people are pitching new tech, app ideas, et cetera. And so I think if you get out in the community and you're actually wanting to connect with people, the talent is out there. As you talked about earlier, it's there. San Antonio is a great place for talent. We have a lot of people that rotate out of the military that come here, their spouses that come here, their family and support that come here. And then there's people like me who were in the Austin tech world and, drove south an hour and fell in love with San Antonio and didn't want to leave. And so I think all of those are there. I hope that answers that.
Yeah. So I'm always looking for new ways to find, whatever the answer is, because if we're just going to the same play, LinkedIn, whatever, it's like LinkedIn becomes it's a spam world if you're not careful there. But if you use it as leverage to actually create an authentic relationship or to network, that would be a good thing. When you're out there visiting these networking groups and stuff, they got to hit that funnel, right? So you can nurture them along and build those relationships and ultimately end up where you want to end up. So how do you approach the funnel side of it when you're out networking? Okay, you meet somebody, they're maybe the right kind of person to have in your world. What do you do with that?
Yeah. Well, I think a great example of that is like Jesse Hernandez just created a tech essay, a tech essay kind of network that's helping cultivate tech people basically and kind of build them up and get them more involved and more skills here in San Antonio. And so kind of partnering with Jesse and others like that is so huge because that he is helping build kind of a talent pipeline for San Antonians that can basically be filtered to nonprofits if that's a good fit for them. So stuff like that, partnering with Jesse, I think is huge.
Super smart.
Well, tell me more about this Jesse person.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I talked to him recently. I think you've probably talked to him more, but this, that we have a community of people out there who are trying to organically bring together different parts of our society, our community, San Antonians. And Jesse in particular, I think, as Patrick's talking about, is going out there and trying to get all these different, 6-person to like 20-person meetup groups and bring them all under one umbrella so it's easy to find and commingle maybe between those different groups, which has kind of been a problem we've had since pre-pandemic. Before the pandemic, you just went to Geekdom, right? And there was all of the meetups that you would want in tech. Every day of the week there was something else. And the pandemic, I think, really blew those out across town. When Tech Block came out with their report, now they show that the tech center of San Antonio is really everywhere, right? And so it's great that Jesse's finding all of that kind of diverse groups and putting them together in one repository. Is that fair?
I couldn't say it better.
Well, leadership, right? At the end of the day, leadership makes a huge difference in people's lives. So any other community involvement stuff you're doing? Are you guys involved with a nonprofit? What do you, like giving back other than just hiring for them?
Yeah, I mean, we partner with our nonprofits. We typically will go out and do things with them. If they're doing a community event or something like that, we'll partner and go volunteer some time. We'll volunteer our hours too. I really want to get to the point where we put on our own, like our own community event to help kind of sponsor nonprofits here in San Antonio, and probably one of our nonprofits that we support, right? And so that's like on my fall agenda, basically, to get that going. But I think that'd be really, really great to kind of do that locally here, where we can put on something like a fundraiser activity to help the nonprofits that we're kind of already serving. So
That's awesome. There's a lot of them. There's a lot that could definitely use your help.
Yeah.
So yes, especially since the big give is coming up too. That's a big push in San Antonio where every nonprofit is associated with it.
It's super cool. Yeah, I just wanted to say real quickly, when I think about the impact that businesses and people have on our communities, behind so much greatness that we see just driving around and take for granted, is a group of nonprofits that are working in the shadows that we hardly ever see. Thousands of them in our community that are each doing something to make our communities' lives better. And when I talk to you and here today about the way that you have this service and value and mission-oriented approach to doing a job that's typically not around those, and you wrap your arms around these nonprofits and you help them get this talent, I just want to give you the observation. It's probably making a much bigger positive impact on the community you serve than you might realize. And thinking back over what we heard today, that's super unique, super cool. And I just wanted to end with thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, it's a lot of fun. Patrick, if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Probably best way is to go to our website. So www.TalentSync LTD.com. There's a thing in there. You can just basically send a message and get a hold of me. And then beyond that, I'm on LinkedIn. Look me up, Patrick Gnehm, on LinkedIn too. Send a message there. So thank you all.
You bet. Thanks for coming in. All right, as we wrap up the show, a quick reminder, check out our latest podcast and catch video version of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. And don't forget the mixer coming up on October 3rd. All right, good job, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you on the next one.